Many of you have probably heard of Rwanda. If so, you would know about the genocide that had happened less than 20 years ago. Something that we thought or could never imagine happened. Where did it all go wrong? Rwanda is about the size of Maryland. It is located in Africa and its capital is Kigali. This was taken over by Belgium during the First World War, so Belgium had a safe place to stay. In 1962, Rwanda got its independence from Belgium. Although the people of Rwanda looked very similar, there was a difference of the two groups that lived inside of it, Hutus and Tutsis. He was the president from 1973 to 1994. His assassination is what sparked the genocide. Many blamed it on the Tutsis, and that's why the genocide was easier to occur. Since he was Hutu, he was against the Tutsis as well, and even as the president allowed a lot of newspapers and radios to be broadcasted against the Tutsis. There was a civil war going on before the genocide of the Hutus and the Tutsis, but it was not as bad as the genocide. The Hutus were the majority. 85% were considered commoners, while 15% were Tutsis, and they were considered the elites. Can you tell the difference between these two women? One of them is Tutsi while the other is Hutu. Features could be if you are taller, have lighter skin, or the width of your nose. The Belgians picked the Tutsis and put them in charge of the country. After Rwanda got their independence from Belgium, the Hutus took over. If you lived in Rwanda, you would have an ID card that would state whether you were Hutu or Tutsi. So not only could one tell by the features you possess, but also by your identification. The Hutus had angst towards the Tutsis since they were in charge for so long. Again in this picture, one of these people is Hutu while the other is Tutsi. The movie Hotel Rwanda tells a very heroic story during the Rwandan genocide. The characters in this movie are both still alive today and have saved many people who were both Hutu and Tutsi. The Rwandan genocide was said to kill between 500,000 to 1 million people. The genocide lasted for 100 days. Can you see how all this could come to be? Years of hate towards people that were claimed to be Tutsi, along with radio broadcasts of hate and a president that supported it all. Survivors who were children then are about 20 to 30 years old now. They still have the scars physically and emotionally. Many of them were taken away from their families. Many of them became orphans. These next few photographs will be of what became of the Rwandan people because of the genocide that occurred on April 6, 1994. A lot of children were taken away from their families and were killed first because the Hutus did not want a future of Tutsis. Some were able to escape while others tried to run away. He was a part of the UN and was placed in Rwanda a year before the genocide. He tried to help as much as he could and saved about 32,000 people of different race during the genocide. Everyone in Rwanda was hurt one way or another. Children who survived were sometimes lucky to be found and brought back to Red Cross camps. Others were not so lucky and were left in the rubble that was once inhabited by their family and home. The Hutus only thought about revenge of the past 50 years and of the thought of the Tutsis assassinating their president. They stopped at nothing for killing, whether it was a Hutu protecting a Tutsi, married to one, or even just living with one. They were then Tutsi in their eyes. Most of the people who were murdered were killed by machetes. Large, sharp gashes are what you would see in some of the survivors today. These were shipped to the Hutus even before the assassination of the president. After the 100 days of the genocide, Rwanda tried to rebuild itself by giving care to everyone that had been hurt. They had warrants out for the top men that they knew were Hutu extremists. As part of the rebuilding, there came organizations to make sure this never happens again in the future. They even developed a new judicial system for the Hutus that committed murder. Some committees let Hutus out of jail if they had apologized. Other survivors took different ways to help cope with the genocide. They did art, wrote books, left Africa, or helped more in the government. A new president is also part of the new Rwanda, who is still the current president now. He was the leader of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, which helped put an end to the genocide. He is Tutsi. Because of his presidency, the world looks at Rwanda as the best that it's been in years. Rwanda has been through a lot with being controlled by Belgium, gaining independency, and having civil wars between the Hutus and the Tutsis, and then their genocide. This is yet another lesson as to what we should not let happen in our world.